Evelyn's world was once filled with a delicate blend of warmth, laughter, and the soft, comforting purrs of her beloved cat, Luna. Living in a quaint town in America, where every sunrise brought the promise of a new day and every sunset whispered secrets of the past, Evelyn found solace in the familiar rhythms of her life. Yet, beneath the surface of her quiet existence, a storm was brewing. A storm that would test the limits of her heart and spirit. It all began in the gentle quiet of early spring, when the air was crisp, and the scent of blooming flowers mingled with the faint memory of winter. Evelyn had spent the previous years building a life that she believed was as perfect as it could be. She had a modest, sunlit apartment with wide windows that framed the vibrant world outside. Her constant companion was Luna, a graceful, silver-furred cat with eyes as deep as midnight. Luna wasn't just a pet. She was a confidant, a silent witness to every tear, every smile, and every whispered dream that Evelyn ever had. Evelyn and Luna shared an unspoken bond. On lazy afternoons, as soft light poured through the windows, Evelyn would curl up with Luna on her lap and lose herself in the quiet companionship of their mutual presence. But as the seasons changed, so too did the undercurrents in Evelyn's personal life. Mark, the man with whom she had shared countless hopes and plans, began to drift away like a ship slowly sailing out of harbor. Their conversations, once filled with promises of a shared future, turned into terse exchanges marked by silence and longing. The first sign that something was terribly wrong did not come in a thunderclap or a dramatic confrontation. It came in a series of small, almost imperceptible moments. One chilly morning, as Evelyn prepared Luna's breakfast, she noticed that her usually spry companion seemed unusually lethargic. Luna's eyes, once vibrant with life, now looked heavy and tired. Evelyn's heart clenched with a premonition that something was amiss. Initially, she reassured herself that it was probably just a passing phase, a brief setback in the ebbs and flows of life. Days turned into a week, and the subtle signs began to multiply. Luna's appetite dwindled, her once graceful movements turned hesitant, and a soft, persistent cough began to punctuate the silence of their home. Every visit to the veterinarian left Evelyn more anxious than before. The vet's gentle tone could not erase the stark images of medical tests and the looming uncertainty that hovered like a dark cloud. Each appointment was a cruel reminder of the fragile nature of life, both human and animal. During this period, the emotional strain of Luna's illness began to weigh heavily on Evelyn, and it was then that the cracks in her relationship with Mark grew more visible. Mark, once her pillar of support, seemed to retreat further into himself with each passing day. His responses became curt, and his eyes, which had once sparkled with warmth, now held an indifferent distance. Evelyn desperately reached out, longing for the comfort of his touch, the reassurance in his words, but his silence was as unyielding as the pain she felt in her chest. One evening, after a particularly grueling day marked by Luna's deteriorating condition and another fruitless attempt at connecting with Mark, Evelyn sat by the window and watched the world outside, each raindrop a silent echo of her own tears. The house, which had once been a sanctuary, now felt cavernous and cold. Memories of happier times, their shared laughter, tender embraces, and whispered dreams in the quiet of night seemed to mock her present despair. It was in this solitude that Evelyn allowed herself to truly feel the heartbreak that had been building inside her. The turning point came on an overcast afternoon when the vet delivered the devastating diagnosis. Luna, the gentle creature who had filled Evelyn's days with quiet joy, was suffering from a terminal illness. The words fell like shards of glass into her soul, each syllable carving out a space of unbearable pain. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. The vibrant colors of the world faded into a bleak monochrome, and every beat of her heart echoed the finality of the news. Evelyn's tears, unbidden and uncontrollable, streamed down her face as she cradled Luna in her arms, whispering apologies and promises of eternal love. The diagnosis marked the beginning of an agonizing journey, a battle against the inevitable. Every day became a delicate dance between hope and despair. Evelyn immersed herself in a flurry of research, seeking out every shred of knowledge about Luna's condition, desperate for any sliver of hope that might prolong her beloved companion's life. Nights were spent in a haze of worry, her thoughts a chaotic symphony of memories, fears, and what-ifs. The days blurred together, each moment punctuated by the piercing sound of the phone and the sterile hum of the vet's clinic. At the same time, the emotional fissure with Mark widened into an unbridgeable chasm. His inability, or unwillingness, to confront the mounting pain created a rift that grew with every word left unsaid. Conversations turned into arguments, and silence became the loudest expression of his disinterest. Mark's detachment was not born out of cruelty. It was an escape from the overwhelming reality that he too could not bear. But for Evelyn, every moment without his support deepened the sense of isolation that gnawed at her soul. One particular night, as autumn winds howled outside and the first hints of winter brushed against the windows, Mark's silence reached its zenith. The quiet in the house was deafening, punctuated only by the soft sounds of Luna's labored breathing. In the dim light of the living room, with shadows dancing on the walls like specters of a lost past, Evelyn finally gathered the strength to confront the painful truth. She looked at Mark, whose eyes remained locked on some distant, unattainable thought, and spoke words that trembled with raw emotion. "I can't do this anymore, Mark," she said softly, her voice cracking under the weight of unspoken sorrow. "I'm losing everything I love, Luna, our memories, and myself. And you're not here with me." Her words hung in the air, each one a heavy stone dropped into the silent abyss between them. Mark's eyes flickered for a moment, a spark of remorse crossing his features, but it quickly vanished, replaced by a cold, unyielding indifference. "Maybe it's time we face the truth, Evelyn," he replied, his tone distant and detached. "Maybe we're both just holding on to something that's already gone." In that instant, the final thread connecting them snapped. The breakup was not a sudden eruption of anger or a dramatic confrontation. It was a slow, painful unraveling of years of shared dreams and quiet understanding. As Mark gathered his few belongings and left the apartment that night, the weight of his departure settled like a shroud around Evelyn's heart. The empty space he left behind was filled with echoes of laughter and whispers of promises that would never be fulfilled. In the days that followed, the apartment felt unbearably empty. The silence was oppressive, every corner a reminder of what had been lost. Evelyn's grief was compounded by the looming reality of Luna's condition. With Mark gone, she felt the isolation of loss in its most raw form. She sat for hours at the window, watching the world move on without her, each day a relentless reminder of the fragility of love and life. During this period of profound sorrow, Evelyn embarked on a solitary journey of introspection. She began writing in a worn leather journal, pouring her heart onto the pages as a way to make sense of the unbearable pain. In those quiet, solitary moments, she revisited memories of happier times, of sunny afternoons spent laughing with Mark, of gentle evenings when Luna's purrs filled the room, and of moments when love had felt like an unbreakable bond. The pages of her journal became a canvas for both her grief and her resilience, a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of overwhelming loss. One particularly bleak winter evening, as a fierce storm raged outside, Evelyn sat on the floor of her dimly lit living room, holding Luna close as if her warmth could stave off the coming darkness. The once vibrant cat now lay still, her breathing shallow and labored. Evelyn's heart broke a little more with each passing moment, the realization that she might soon be alone, crushing her in waves of despair. But even in the depths of her sorrow, there was a glimmer of defiant hope, a determination to honor the memory of what had once been beautiful. As the final days with Luna approached, Evelyn made a promise to herself and to the cat, who had been her steadfast companion through years of joy and sorrow. She vowed to remember the good times, to cherish the laughter, and to let the memories of Luna's loving presence be a guiding light in the darkest of nights. Every touch, every purr, every soft meow was a reminder of the profound connection they had shared, a connection that, even in the face of death, would remain eternal. In the bittersweet days that followed Luna's passing, Evelyn found herself grappling with a maelstrom of emotions. The grief was all-consuming, and every memory of Luna, every soft paw on her lap, every quiet moment of shared solace, cut through her like a shard of glass. Yet, amidst the pain, there was also a strange sense of relief, a subtle understanding that in losing Luna, she had also shed a part of the life that was no longer sustainable. It was as if the end of Luna's suffering had opened a door for Evelyn to begin confronting the other painful truth of her existence, her shattered relationship with Mark. The breakup had been a devastating blow, yet it also forced Evelyn to face the reality that she had been living in the shadow of someone else's indifference. Alone, with only her memories and her sorrow for company, she began to see that the love she so desperately clung to had become a prison of unfulfilled promises. The process of mourning Mark was not as immediate or intense as the grief for Luna, but it was equally profound. The silence he left behind echoed through her every day, a constant reminder of the fragility of human connection. In time, Evelyn started to rebuild her life piece by piece. The journey was slow and painful, a careful, tentative step forward in the aftermath of loss. She joined a small support group for pet owners who had experienced similar heartbreak. And in those meetings, she found comfort in the shared stories of love and loss. Each story was a reminder that while the pain of loss was universal, it was also a stepping stone toward healing and self-discovery. Evelyn began to explore new hobbies that had once been relegated to the background. She took long walks in the crisp autumn air, finding solace in the rustle of leaves and the quiet murmur of the nearby river. The simple act of breathing in the cold, fresh air became a meditation, a way of reconnecting with herself and rediscovering the parts of her identity that had been lost in the tumult of heartbreak. In the evenings, as the sky turned a deep indigo and the stars began to shimmer, she would sit by the window and write again. This time not out of sorrow, but as a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. The memories of Luna remained, of course, like gentle ghosts in the corners of her mind. Each night, as Evelyn closed her eyes, she could still feel the soft weight of Luna on her chest, hear the quiet murmur of her purr, and sense the unconditional love that had once filled every corner of her heart. These memories became both a source of comfort and a bittersweet reminder of the impermanence of life. Over time, however, they began to heal her, transforming from painful echoes of loss into a gentle, guiding light that helped her navigate the uncertain future. One crisp spring morning, as the first buds of new life appeared after a long winter, Evelyn awoke with a profound realization. Despite the heartbreak, she had survived. The scars of loss and the pain of goodbye were indelibly etched into her soul. But they also bore witness to her strength and her capacity to love deeply. In the quiet moments of solitude, she learned that every end was also a beginning, a chance to rebuild, to rediscover, and ultimately to find hope in the midst of sorrow. Looking back on the journey that had led her to this fragile point of renewal, Evelyn understood that grief was not something to be conquered or forgotten, but rather a part of the intricate tapestry of life. Each tear, each pang of regret, was a reminder of the love that had once been so profound that its absence left an aching void. And yet, in that same void, there was the possibility of new growth, a silent, resilient promise that even in the aftermath of loss, life could bloom again. In the quiet weeks that followed, Evelyn continued to navigate the delicate balance between remembrance and renewal. The void left by Mark and Luna was never fully filled, but it was gradually transformed into a space where her own voice could emerge stronger and more resolute. She began to embrace solitude not as a punishment, but as a time for reflection, a chance to truly understand who she was and what she wanted from the future. As the seasons shifted once more, the story of Evelyn became one of hope forged from heartbreak, of finding beauty in the ruins of what once was, and of daring to dream again, despite the scars of the past. Each day was a testament to her endurance, a silent vow that she would honor the love she had lost by living a life that was honest, vibrant, and deeply felt. And so, in the quiet aftermath of sorrow and the slow, steady emergence of healing, Evelyn stepped forward into a future that was uncertain, yet filled with the possibility of new beginnings. The memories of Luna's purrs and the echoes of a once shared love with Mark would always remain, not as chains of regret, but as cherished chapters in the story of a woman who had learned through pain and loss the true meaning of resilience. In the end, the heartache that had once threatened to break her was transformed into a quiet, enduring strength, a strength that whispered that even in the darkest moments, the light of hope could be found in the simple act of continuing to love, to remember, and to believe in the promise of a new dawn.